Hi, and welcome to the Zoom Room. I'm David Brown, and my guest today in the Zoom Room is none other than Lenny Edgerton. Lenny, on this side or that side? Hello, Lenny, and welcome.
Good morning, Dave. Good afternoon. Sorry, mate. How are you?
Morning, afternoon. I'm in isolation as per the regulations. And my first question to you, as an educator, as a professional musician of many years standing, as a composer, a songwriter, how is isolation impacting on you as a performer, as an artist, and as a musician?
Personally, for me, it's been quite interesting. I've been out in the studio more. Being an educator, there's a lot of time spent on preparation for the students and finding resources, etc., to keep it interesting. But I've utilised a little bit of that downtime to be creative. My studio's just been rebuilt, and I'm enjoying isolation, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of home studios, the image up there now?
Yeah, that's the
That's what.
control room.
And while we're talking about being a musician and a contemporary musician and songwriter, how is it that you deal with the new technologies that you have to come across?
I think it's an amazing time to be a musician and a composer. Any form of creative arts, human that we're involved in, the resources that we have, the technology that we have it's amazing. I wish it was around 30 years ago when I was a young fella doing it. It's awesome.
Okay. And in relation to training now, what's that synergy between being a creative and also being an educator and your responsibility in relation to developmental skills for your students?
It's an interesting one for me personally. It's probably no different to yourself, Dave, but I find it humbly, what's the words I'm looking for? Extremely humbling, that you're passing on knowledge to the students from your interaction in the industries or the creative industries. And furthering that is that because you're passing on that knowledge, you're actually pushing your own boundary to stay relevant, and stay current, and practice what you preach.
Yeah. Speaking of touring, now, in the current state of the world, we can't do this anymore. But as you can see, I lifted this from your Facebook page, and you're performing live out there in the real world most of the time. Well, you were.
Yes, we were.
You were. Yeah, it's one of our industries. They have been hit pretty hard, and as a performer, then how is it that you translate those skills in the units that you teach for your students?
Performance is interesting. I've got a university degree, more so in the business aspect and songwriting aspect. But from a performer, it's really a life skill. You're just passing on what you've done wrong in the past, what you should do right, and learning off and networking with other musicians in the industry to try and better yourself. And especially the Cert 2, Cert 3 students coming through, it's giving them that the hunger to say, I want more.
Yeah. In relation to that networking, it's a really important part of the industry. Would you agree?
Absolutely. We'd all be lost without it.
Yeah. And in this time of isolation, we begin to realize how important it is to stay in communication with our colleagues and our peers.
Extremely, just like right now, we're communicating. I think the creative arts in general, we all know how much that we back the world, as per fundraising, and that we've seen it in Australia with the bushfires early this year. And right now, it appears that the musicians are trying to look after themselves by online performances. I see a lot of people still cross-promoting their stuff and preparing themselves for when we're back to whatever the new normal is going to be.
And speaking of the new normal, we're expecting, once we go back to the new normal, to see more of this.
I would love to be back in that position. Absolutely.
This is you in your live performance state.
Yeah, yeah. That was like a gig in Newcastle. I think that was back in 2017 or thereabouts.
Mhm. Great. So, and just one last word, Lenny, on training and the importance of training in relation to maintaining a career in the music industry, locally, but also nationally, and perhaps even internationally.
Um, it's just staying current, um, building on the skill set that you have, stay current with the industry. I mean, I'm in a bubble. I'm always in a bubble, but I'm always learning and wanting to explore different boundaries. I love to do orchestral stuff, yet I don't play orchestral music. So just stay current, in the same time exploring whatever it is that you desire to make you who you are as an artist.
Great words. Thank you. Words of wisdom. Thank you, Lenny Edgerton. I appreciate your time today in the Zoom room. We're zooming in, we're zooming out. Thank you. And yeah, we'll be over this soon, and we'll be back to live performance and enjoying music in its natural state.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dave, for having me, and keep up the awesome work you're doing.
Cheers, mate. Bye.